Welcome again to another rendition of Welcome to Fatherhood Interviews. My name is Sir Royce Briales, and I'm with my prestigious co-host, Dr. Raheem Young. How's it going, brother?
Everything's well, man. How things are going?
Man, no complaints over here, man. Another day to make it happen. That's what I say, man. So I'm also pleased to announce we have a special guest, Damian Kinsey.
Doing well. Thank you for having me, both of you. How about y'all?
Man, doing good, man. Excited for this one.
What's that background you have?
It's a good sunset I found. Like I was just Google like sunsets, and then I just
got like a castle going on back there.
Well, yeah, it is a castle. It's a painting. Like whenever people ask me, I say it's a castle that the Moors built in Scotland. So just to make it sound more interesting, but this was really here when we moved here.
So we got castles and sunsets. All right,
yeah, that's what I always said.
The Moors built the first white castle, right there.
Get out of it.
Got it.
All right, Damian, so tell us a little bit more about yourself, man. You already mentioned that you didn't have any kids, but what do you do for a living or for a purpose?
I live in and calling on the same things. I'm a director of community-based and school programs for an organization called Boys Town, which focuses on community-based supports and truancy interventions. So the way I kind of explain it and frame it to people is that we provide case management and also school supports where we go inside the homes and work with the families from anywhere from 6 to 9 months or 3 to 6 months, depending on what kind of treatment and case management. And then we also provide wraparound school support interventions inside the school systems, which teach kids social skills, development, behavioral supports and skills. And then we provide camp and summer enrichment and a level of career development for the kids that we work with, and also parenting skills classes. Also, my team teaches parenting skills classes to parents virtually and also in person. And a little bit about myself, I am a native New Yorker. I currently work in the Washington, D.C. area, and I'm also a diversity, equity, inclusion president for one of the diversity, equity, inclusion employee resource groups at my organization. And then lastly, I'm a newly elected board member for 60 Mary Sue Education Fund, which focuses on making sure equality, empathy, and understanding are happening in all levels of education throughout for underserved communities.
Pretty dope, man. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So how did you get involved with working with kids? Like, has this always been a passion of yours, or how did it start?
No, I was the kid who thought he was going to get rich and had a plan to just get paid. And then I had to do an internship coming on my last year of high school, and I decided to get it done quickly. And I did it between 2 different internships at a church, my church that I grew up in, my aunt's church, and also after school program. So I was coaching basketball at the church after on weekends, and I was doing after school program during a weekday, and I was trying to get it over with quick. And then getting it over quick, the goal was to do 75 hours. I ended up doing like 480, to be honest. And it was so much to the point where I was actually part of the staff. And one day I came in late, and they were like, "Why are you late?" And I was looking at them like, I'm doing this for free, right? And then it dawned on me that you have people dependent on you. And I was like, I looked up, I was like, dude, you could have finished a long time ago. You're still coming here. It became my calling at that point. I knew I wanted to work with people.
So since you started, the type of work that you've been doing, how is that, what type of growth have you experienced, doing this type of work?
Besides getting older, a lot of growth, to be honest. I started as, honestly, an intern learning how to coach basketball and also work with kids in the after-school program and in a gym, and also helping with education, to eventually becoming working in a harder place group home for girls, focusing on providing recreation for them and also childcare development. And then after that, I became a direct care staff member. I worked in a hospital. I've coached AAU basketball all across the country. And I've also become, I was a supervisor in residential care juvenile justice in New York City, which DJJ, DYFJ, which focus on taking kids to and from school, dealing with their short-term incarceration and having that adjudication and working with kids to get them back to their families, or also get them in a placement such as like long-term or Boys Town, where they're able to be stable and provide social skills and that family support. And I was also able to be a school program director at a school for juvenile youth residential care, short-term and long-term, and senior operations director for the residential component, short-term, and the school base. And then I was asked to come down to DC to come help start up and elevate the community-based programs where I'm at now.
So it sounds like you've seen a lot, like working with the different kids that you've interacted with. If you could like give a list of maybe 2 or 3 things that if these kids had that thing, then it would be life-changing for them, what do you think it would be?
So I worked in a lot of group home settings and also community detention. The biggest thing when working with these kids is giving them hope and opportunities, and not being that person who's just going to be like, I'm going to give up on you. It's just easy to look at the kid that allegedly is the bad kid and be like, well, this kid is so hard-headed and their behaviors are so aggressive or inappropriate that you sit there and be like, all right, let me just throw my hands up. I'm not going to deal with it. But the reality of it, that's their defense. That's their way to weed you out to see if you really care about them, you're going to work with them. Because the reality is they deal with a lot of people who come in and out of their lives, and they want to know if you're stable or not. It's hard for a kid like that to trust somebody when they're going through their own emotional roller coaster, and then it's a person coming in and out, and then you're telling them all these alleged good things that you learned as an adult. And to be honest, a lot of us was hard-headed kids as well. Like the information that our elders were giving us didn't make sense to us until we got older. And it's the same thing we're trying to pay back to these kids. But you got to show them that you care and that you're there for them first before they even let you even in the door. So you got to be able to be patient and understand that kid telling you F you or getting loud and getting aggressive is just part of that defense and that routine that they've been able to survive with, either male, female, or even kids who are like an LGBTQ group. It's the same thing. Like they want love, acceptance, and somebody who's actually going to listen to them.
So with the cases that you've worked, how active were the dads in the kid's life? I know you probably can't say specifics, but like how active do you think? What impact do you think made in their lives to get them to that point?
I've had several fathers who were so invested to the point where they were, we're in juvenile detention and they're coming to open school night for them. And you have fathers who will come to every single visit. And then I've had fathers who were trying to buy their kids and, just buy them Gucci belts and stuff just to buy their love and compassion. And then you had fathers who were going in and out of the prison system, and you had kids who had absentee fathers in their mind that they wanted to be like their incarcerated dad and trying to get that love and that male attention. And it's misplaced at times because you're working in a residential setting and they're gravitating to the female workers, the male workers, and there's still that same attachment of that adult figure that they're looking for. I've seen it all with as far as parent engagement.
Can you talk about your relationship with your dad coming up? How was that?
My father was the greatest level of reality teaching that I can possibly get, because as a kid, I just thought he was a hard individual, which he was, because, my father was like respecting my family, my friends, and people around, but he would always say that I'm teaching you these lessons for later on in life. And as a kid, you're like whatever, like this doesn't need to be this hard. But the reality of it, when I look back at it, it frames my work. It framed me for what I've learned and how I approach work. Like I show up to work because whenever hours I'm at work, I don't clock in an hour because I'm a salary staff member, but my approach is when I'm there, I'm there. You have to be present for the people around you because you're giving them a service, you don't shortchange them. And that's what I learned from my father, who worked 2 jobs growing up, who owned his own business, that when you go to work and you go to work, you're serious about your job. And also when you come home, it's about taking care of your family and responsibility. Like having my father in my life, my whole life. My parents been married my whole life, and seeing that like male figure who he's also been a father figure to people around us. It was important to see like male stability.
So what do you think or what do you attribute your parents' longevity, like from your observation, from your vantage point?
Reality. It's not, every day is not going to be a happy day. Every day is not a sad day, but the reality of it is about sticking through it. Like, things are supposed to happen because we're human beings. One day I agree with you, the next day I don't agree with you. And that's just part of the evolution of being a human being. And then looking back on it, it's like you watch television and it's like everything is great. Great family, everything's great. And then you watch another show, then everything is bad. And then the reality of it, I'm sitting there watching my parents interact with each other, they're their best friends. Like they're always together, they're always with each other, but there's no cookie cutter point to it. Like I see the hard work that it takes to be in a marriage and be dedicated to the family. And I just always tell people this. The most important thing for a kid is you being there. It's cool buying them a jacket. It's cool getting the PlayStation and the games. That stuff, that's fun when we try to brag to our friends or talk about. But the reality is fabric. It's games. It's meaningless. The most important things are those connections and those memories. And I remember all the small little things of me having my father in my life, which is, just sitting down, just having a conversation with me about his life growing up.
I know earlier. I'm sorry. Were you?
I was saying those things you can't manufacture those. Those are things that you can always pass on, and you're supposed to pass on those conversations, those lessons, and knowing your history of who you are.
Yeah, for sure. I know earlier you were saying that that you're originally from New York, right? Can you
Yes.
talk about how I guess being from New York shaped you and the impact it had on you?
New York is...
Well, what part of New York are you from?
I'm from Brooklyn.
Okay.
Brownsville, Brooklyn. So New York is environment of an environment within an environment and an environment. I like to tell people, people wonder why New Yorkers have higher optics, or they move so fast, or they think they're so fast. I tell people, if you want to really understand the essence of New York City, stand on 34th Street and just stand on the corner and just watch. You see everybody going in 45 different directions. Everybody's moving all over the place, and you hear nothing but train, loud people, honking horns and stuff. It's just the essence of what it is. The thing that was important to me growing up in New York, and as a kid, I used to go down to Virginia often. Mm-hmm. So now coming and living in the DMV area, what I've learned is that I'm proud that I've come from New York, and it's not about the grittiness and the toughness. Is that I was able to be in an environment where it was so diverse. So certain things are not like foreign to me. Like my mind state is different. Like I can have a friend who's all different ethnicities, races, religion, orientations, because I live in New York, and I can just walk down the block and it changes. The culture changes. Like I'll tell people this: if you want to see the true culture of New York, drive from Williamsburg to Canarsie, and you will see it change 40 different times. Because even from Williamsburg to 2 blocks over from where Jay-Z's from, you have the Jewish population, and then you have the Latin and Black population, and it's only a block away from Marcy. Like right across the street from Marcy turns into a different community. And then on the other side of Marcy turns into a Latin community. And then that's just how the city is. It's just a melting pot of different communities and different languages. Like I joke with people all the time. They be like, oh, I hear your New York accent. And I tell people all the time, New Yorkers don't have accents. It's so diverse that you hear so many different people that we joke that we don't have accents. So even though we do, but
yeah, you do, man.
Yeah, I can definitely hear
it. You can get somebody from the Dominican Republic, they won't sound like me, but they're still native New Yorkers, or somebody from Russia. So
just a matter of like where you from. Like Chicagoans, we talk a certain way. I can tell a Chicagoan, based on how they got more of like a southern like drawl. You know what I'm saying? Than like another person that's from the Minnesota or something like that. I don't know how they talk, but even like people from Detroit, like they say down a certain way. Like it's just the way certain ways people talk. It's funny just hearing.
Yeah, I get it. Like we say y'all instead of you all.
Yeah. In Chicago, we say y'all. It's different. Like, it's a little different. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. What do you think is the biggest difference between New York and the DMV? Like where you live at now?
It's bigger.
Yeah.
New York City is way bigger. DMV is a little bit. It's a city. It's a city. The zip code and the culture and the things of the urban community is the same. Like it's just the zip code is the same. Like I go to Southeast DC and I'm like, this ain't no different from being in East New York or Brownsville or Bronx River. And it's the same thing if I go to Baltimore. But the culture is different. And the way people move is a little bit different because the New York is like somebody on top of somebody on top of somebody on top of somebody on top of somebody because there's a whole bunch of people there and the buildings are built up. And in the DMV, it's built, they got row houses. We call them brownstones, but that thing is like spread out a little bit. And we're just building up. Like it's person on top of somebody on top of somebody.
So I think of the scene in Coming to America where he opens the window and starts screaming.
Yeah.
Like everybody on top of each other, throwing garbage out.
Yeah. And the funny part about it is before I came to the DMV, I live a little bit close to where McDowell's was, the McDonald's, which was really Wendy's.
Oh, so it was Wendy's, but they made a McDonald's for the movie?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. That's a fun fact, man. I ain't know
Never knew that.
It's on Queens Boulevard.
Oh, that's pretty cool, man. Can you talk about like the importance of traveling for a young person?
It's funny you say that. I think it's extremely important, like to get exposed to different places. I'll tell you a story. I was able to in one of my last years, I was able to take a group of kids who are in juvenile detention, meaning that they're essentially incarcerated. Like if they run away, it's another crime. From New York City to Washington, D.C. to go to Howard for actual tour.
That's pretty cool.
And it was so eye-opening for those kids. And it was different for them. Like they were like, wow. Like, and some of these kids was gang members, and you got to explain to them that, all right, I'm going to translate this to you. These sororities and these fraternities are legal organizations that you're going with the illegal gang, and these are legal organizations here. So maybe you should get involved in that, And then you're like their framework and then like the signs and stuff. I'm like, some of these signs is like, y'all kind of stole them from them. Mm-hmm. So it was funny laughing with the kids, and they like, oh, okay. And then them seeing the culture and seeing their history, which they didn't know. And going around and walking around Howard, those things are important. It's funny you say that because I'm trying to work with a different organization and company to provide like a retreat for my kids now currently, because it's important to have those opportunities where kids are able to go away and see that their community it's just this much of their bubble, small. The world is much bigger than your corner, your 5, your 10, 15 block radius.
Yeah, you mentioned going to Virginia as a kid. Like, where else did you travel?
So as a kid, coming down to Virginia kind of shaped my mind towards like, okay, it's time to, like, you got to move. You got to go around, because I remember being in the mall and someone saying hello to me. And I was like, why are they saying hello? My mom was like, you're not in New York anymore. Like, you say hello back. But it got me to understand that, okay, your bubble isn't your bubble, and you have to learn that there's other bubbles out there and get into different bubbles. I've been to Canada several times. I've been to France for school, Mexico, Dominican Republic, a whole bunch of places across the U.S. And that's pretty much it. A whole bunch of other places in the U.S. like Florida, Las Vegas, California.
So, I got to ask you now, man. Have you ever been to Chicago?
No, only on a layover, but I never went outside.
Okay. Because I was going to ask you about the pizza debate, man.
Yeah, I knew you was gonna say that, and that's not a good decision for you. I had a coworker. We always talk about it like you shouldn't be eating pizza with a fork and a knife. That's not pizza. That's a dish.
It's deep dish.
Yeah, but to be honest with you, I respect it because it's the only thing that could compare on the level of us. It doesn't beat us because you could fold it. You know, I had a conversation with one of my coworkers yesterday, and she was asking me about pizza because I'm from New York. She was like, "Well, what's a good pizza place?" And she was like, "How do you determine pizza?" I said, "It has the crunch and drip. If it don't crunch and it doesn't drip, it's not good pizza." She's like, "What do you mean?" I said, "You ever ate soggy pizza?" She was like, "No." I said, "Yeah. If the dough is soggy, it's disgusting. And if it's crunchy and it's dry, it's not good pizza." What about y'all? What's your thoughts on that? I know you have a different style. Yeah, you have fork knives and the king's napkins for yours.
Nah, what I tell people is that we don't eat deep dish. Like we don't order that. Like we only order deep dish when the tourists come. We taking somebody out to eat to get pizza. Like, let's go to get some deep dish. That's something we don't order like all the time. Like our people are just regular, very regular thin crust pizza. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Domino's is good.
Yeah.
So what's a good place in Chicago to get pizza?
It's a couple of. So you talking about like deep dish? You talking about just good pizza? I'm
saying just good pizza. What's good pizza there?
So you have to go to like I wanted to say hood spots, but not necessarily. So like it's a place called Italian Fiesta. They have good pizza.
Italian Fiesta?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's on the south side. If you want to get like just it's kind of touristy, but it's still good. Like Home Run Inn pizza is good, and they don't have. Well, they do like the deep dish, but it's like regular pizza.
Okay.
If you wanna get like the deep dish, Uno's or like Lou Malnati's.
Gino's East has a good deep dish too.
Yeah, Gino's East. They do like the whole bottom of the deep dish could be sausage. So like every bite, if you want sausage, they could do like a whole.
There's like a whole patty, like a whole sausage
it's like
patty.
a giant sausage patty.
It's like lasagna, like layered.
Well, yeah, that's kind of how they put the pizza together. Yeah.
Got it.
What about you, Royce? What's some spots you know?
I also mention Home Run Inn too, but it's one downtown that I went to that was real good called Flo's and Santos. Like they got a real good thin crust, like pizza. Like they real good, like a lot of flavor.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not going to say New York and Chicago. I'm not going to even put a debate out there, man. New York got some good pizza spots too, I guarantee. But you know what I'm saying? Like I think it's good food everywhere. You know what I'm saying? But Chicago is known for like having like pizza. But I wouldn't even say deep dish is the way to go. Like you can get better pizza in Chicago than deep dish.
I believe you. Yeah. I don't know about every place has good food. I've tasted some.
What about DMV?
I've actually found a couple of places that are okay. They're not like back home, but they're pretty decent. Yeah.
Well, Chicago is just a food place, man. Like if you can come here and get like whatever you want, and it'll be good. I don't know if you went to like gyros, like Chinese food, pizza. Yeah. I mean, not pizza, but like chicken, stuff like that. Like you can come here and it like go to places, it'll be excellent.
Okay. Yeah, I always wanted to go to Chicago. I always wanted to go to Wrigley Field though.
Oh yeah. You a Cubs fan?
Huh?
You a Cubs fan?
No, I'm a Met fan. Okay. I'm a Met fan. Like I am so much of a Met fan. I root for the Mets, and I'm so much not a Yankee fan that I root for the Red Sox to beat them. Because in New York, it's rare that you're either a Met fan and a Yankee fan, and you always go back and forth. It's probably how people are like with the Cubs and the White Sox.
Yeah.
Like who's better? But You know.
What
So how
about
did you become? Oh, my fault.
The Nets or the Knicks?
Oh, if you're a Net fan, you from Jersey. Unless you
It's
under
the
the age
Jersey
of
Nets.
6 years old, you are from Jersey. Like you deep. Like even if you're like, I'm going to the game, and you know, like somebody like Kyrie, he's from Jersey, so he's really a Net fan. Somebody like Jay-Z is from Brooklyn. He's really a Knicks fan. Like
Right, but you just go
it's
to
a
the
Knicks
Nets
town.
games because
Like
it's in Brooklyn. Basically.
yeah, you like I'm a Brooklyn person. They saying they Brooklyn, but deep down inside if they're both playing each other, you deep down inside rooting for the Knicks.
So if the Nets make it to the finals, you wouldn't root for the Nets to win? You'd be like,
Oh, if they're in the finals, yeah, I'll root for them. Yeah, I would. But growing up, they were New Jersey. We're New York.
Right.
They were New Jersey Nets. We just would go in there and get an easy victory off of them. We stole Bernard from them. That's who they were.
And you talk about like culturally the difference between like the different boroughs. Well, is there a difference?
Yeah, it's a difference.
Okay,
it's a difference. People from Harlem they have a different style, or they like to buy expensive stuff. Like $10 million, it can be the worst thing ever. They like, well, I'm walking around with 20,000. Yeah, that's great, but it's crazy. People from New York, from the Bronx, they have it's more like it's a hip hop grittiness to it. It's a different grind and grittiness to it. Even the style and mentalities are different. People from Queens are a little bit more, I guess, a smoother level of reserve. And people from Brooklyn are more like, I guess, a little bit upfront and direct. And then people from Staten Island, they have a different layer to them as well.
Yeah, I think about the rappers in those areas. Like the rappers that are from those areas, like Nas is Queens, he's more reserved, more laid back.
Yeah.
You have like Jim Jones, like he got money falling out of his pocket, like jewelry, like big jewelry.
Yeah.
Like, just different styles.
And you said you're from Brownsville, right? So
yeah.
MOP.
Mike Tyson.
Would they be like a good representation of Brownsville?
Yeah, definitely. MOP, Mike Tyson, those are like clear representation of people from Brownsville, Brooklyn. I tell people like, they're like, all right, you like, you like have you worked hard and like you got a career. And I'm like, what? Like average income where I come from is 17,000. My parents were able to do well and get like during the time, but the average income of my community is $17,000. Like it's like not easy to come out of that community. Like I always train myself to remember that you come from Brownsville, Brooklyn, and you don't forget that. And your job and responsibility is to pull as many people over the wall as you can and metaphorically pay it forward. So like I'm in the helping people business. My job is to help people because I had my parents and I had mentors and older people who helped me. Like even with my first jobs, like I said, to go full circle, coaching at a church, I had a guy who mentored me and taught me how to coach, which now teaches me how to coach and develop people in my job now. And my other job, I had a gentleman, a Muslim brother who took me under his wing when I worked in the after school program and kind of taught me the rules and helped me understand what professionalism is. You know, you need to come on time, and continue like to put your best foot forward. And these people were mentors to me. So they told me that it's your job to pay it forward to somebody else. Same thing my parents told me. So these are men who are not my father, and me being a person who has a father, and they were kind of showing me what being a functional male is and having a functional relationship, and that everything isn't all about you taking, it's about giving.
I be telling, this past summer, my son went to Memphis with my wife, uncle, right? And it's funny that like you just said that it's good for young guys to have a voice, a male voice outside of their father, somebody who they in the house with, because they could over time they'll start to like, tune them out. But just having that other strong voice to kind of like reinforce some of those positive things and some of those values and morals is important. So that's pretty cool. I'm glad that you said that.
Even saying that, like I work, like my second real job was working in a harder place group home with girls.
Mm-hmm.
I tell people to this day that was the hardest job I've ever had in my life, because there was no like real structure. And then you working with like I was basically a kid working with kids and trying to navigate that, like working with 18-year-olds and like I'm like 3-4 years older than them, and like that made me understand like the harder place group home is like, and that's essentially that they're in a program, nobody can take them legally, and it's hard for them to go anywhere. So essentially, they're not going nowhere. And working with these young ladies, it taught me the importance of modeling what a functional male relationship is. Because like being a kid, working with kids, because I'm in my early 20s, their boundaries were off. And then having conversations and teaching them skills and giving consequences to them and teaching them these skills were important, because it's like I see what the role they're dealing with in their personal life, how they're interacting with the kids or the young men in their age group. And I was like, it's me and myself and this other gentleman, like he was a married guy, and we the only men in there. We made sure that our job was to make sure that we taught these young ladies what functional male relationships was, that it's not transactional, that I'm not here because you think you're cute, that I'm supposed to like you in order to make you show me that I care about you. Like that's not the only thing you can offer somebody. You have value beyond what you look like.
Powerful stuff, man. So I had two more questions. First one, out of all the roles, you mentioned a lot of roles in your background. Like which one would you say would prepare you for fatherhood once you become a dad? Like which one of those roles you think have made the most impact on you in that regard?
I'll say all, but working in the group home gave me a big appreciation for understanding the importance of working with like young ladies and like that level of big brother father figure to someone, because like I can't explain to you what they were going through, but it's a lot when you have nobody you can go home to. And then like they're going through whatever emotional issues they're going through, social, economic, educational issues. And you're sitting there and you're listening to these kids who are going through so much. And then they're having these life situations that are changing their life dramatically. And you have to be like there for them and not be there because there's a check. You're like really showing up and have to be there for them because these kids don't have anything. And then the other thing is when I worked in the residential care with juvenile justice, those kids are going through incarceration in court and family issues, and even teaching parenting skills classes to adults. Like when I was working in a juvenile justice system, like I tell people I get like 450 kids a year going in and out in short-term residential care. So when I'm teaching parenting skills classes, they're asking like, if you don't have no kids, how do you think it's going to work? I work with 450 juveniles a year. Like I know that patience, time, and consequences and teaching skills work with kids. Like all you have to do is it's like teaching the kids follow instructions. Like it's look at the person, say, okay, do the task and check back. That's a skill we teach. And the reason why it's important to follow instructions is because you're not doing me a favor. Because there's going to come a point in your life where you're going to be asked to do something and you have to do it because it's the right thing to do, because it's going to benefit you. Because you don't want to get fired. Or when you go on your probation, you want to be able to meet your appointments because you don't want to come back here. And you following instruction is not a favor for Damian Kinsey. It's something that the skill will never die. We will always have to follow some level of instruction. Somebody's always going to tell us what to do. Regardless if you own your own business, your client is going to tell you what to do. And you got to be able to sometimes suck it up and say, okay, and just keep it moving and do what you got to do because it's the right thing to do.
All right. So I have one last question for you. And so if you can give advice to, an expectant dad or a dad, a young father, like what would that be?
You're going to have 1,000 what if questions. You cannot protect your kid from everything, but you can arm them with all the tools that give them the most muscle memory to set them up for success. So it's about instilling values and getting as many tools in your toolbox as possible and transferring those tools to those kids and hoping that they make the best decision possible. And when they're struggling, knowing when to be hard on them, and then knowing when it's time to just, be easy and say, hey, this is not the time to lay the hammer down. It's time to give the hug. So balancing out the hammer and balancing out the hug are the most important tools.
Knowing to show love. That's good. Yeah, that's important.
It seems like you got 5 kids, man.
You got 450, man. What you mean?
That's good stuff, man.
Yeah, my last question to you, Damian, you already answered it, actually. The question was, what does fatherhood mean to you? And I'll read what you said. You said, this means that you show up for your child and take responsibility for keeping them safe while teaching them life lessons. You kind of already spoke on that, like the tools. Can you elaborate on that a little bit more?
Yeah, so there's so many other variables in play that goes on in life that if you're not present for the moment, you miss the moment. And I know people who are like, all right, so sometimes you have parents who weaponize the kids. And because they're going through whatever they're going through, they're using the kids as leverage, either way, whatever side of the table it is. And then sometimes you have people who are like, okay, this individual is leveraging the kids in this relationship. I'm not going to show up. I'm going to wait until they get older. But the reality is you're going to miss all these moments trying to do that and waiting for the kid to be old enough. Don't miss the moments because tomorrow's not promised to nobody. And it's important to show up and be there. Your kid is going to remember that they made a ornament for you and they put it on a Christmas tree and it cost nothing. Or you showed up to open school night for them, or you even if they hated or they having failing grades, they're going to remember you showed up for open school night. You showed up when they had an assembly or they were singing in the choir when they can't even sing. You showed up for those moments, and it's important to keep showing up in those moments, taking them to soccer, putting them in Little League, putting them in free stuff, taking them to dance, to be in a dance group. And those things are important to just keep showing up, making sure that you come by for their birthdays and you're dropping them off at school, picking them up. Last thing is I tell people this, when I'm doing trainings about education system, parents, when they're taking their kid to pre-K or kindergarten, they have all this anxiety when they're dropping their kid off and they're like, what if? They don't really want to leave their kid. They're picking them up early. And then when they start getting in middle school, high school, they start giving them all this autonomy and this leverage and this freedom. And they forget that they're still kids. They still need somebody to be there for them and kind of hold their hand through certain processes. Showing up is important.
Good stuff, man. I like to say, man, you're a natural, Damian.
Thank you.
Appreciate this. It's been a great interview.
Appreciate it. Thank you both for having me.
Yeah, if you had to tell the people where to reach you, where would you send them?
So they can get me on LinkedIn, Damian Kinsey. On LinkedIn, I work for Boys Town. They can reach me at Boys Town, Washington, D.C. Go to the website and reach me there. They can also reach me through Sissy Mary Sue Education Fund and just check me out on LinkedIn.
Dr. Young, did you have anything else before we wrapped it up?
No other questions. Just thank you again, man. It's been an excellent interview.
Thank you.
Really enjoyed it.
Hope I added value.
No, you definitely did, man. We like to add certain interviews to the Hall of Fathers. We don't do the Hall of Fame; we do the Hall of Fathers. So we're gonna add this one to there, man. So if you had to give me a jersey number for the Raptors, man, what number would you give me?
65.
Why 65?
Oh, that's my at my organization we have teacher numbers.
Yeah.
So that was my teaching number. When kids learn skills, we kind of sign it off with whatever teaching number assigned. Mine was 65, which is kind of like a long, I take pride in it because it was a long line of like really good youth care workers who had the number before me. So my goal was to kind of do them proud.
Now a lot of 65s in the Hall of Fame, so we're going to go ahead and hang it up with pride, man. That's a good offensive lineman number.
Yeah, I was about to say it's a lineman number.
All right, so don't hang up, Damian. We're going to have a little cool down, if you will. So
okay.
Without further ado, let's go ahead and wrap it. So for myself, Sir Royce Briales, for my prestigious co-host, Dr. Raheem Young, and also for our special guest, Damian Kinsey. Thanks again for listening to Welcome to Fatherhood Interviews, and stay tuned for further announcements.